Brooke Rollins. Secretary Rollins, welcome to the show. The Senate's going through this parliamentary process right now and hopes to vote sometime this weekend. The holdouts say it's fiscally responsible, too expensive. Department of Agriculture, though, managed to get an increase in spending. What would the money go for if it passes?
Well, first of all, the president's vision of the big, beautiful bill, this was the vision he cast over the last few years on returning power to the people, bringing more prosperity into every corner of America. Obviously, in the agriculture sector, as the Secretary of Ag, this is of vital importance. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we've lost almost 180,000 family farms. China has been buying up our farmland. We have to make a change. If we're going to save America, we have to save our farmers. So this bill takes a giant leap in that direction. And so you mentioned, and you had the people on talking about the big cuts on one side. Mm-hmm. Well, part of those big cuts include in the food stamp program, which is a USDA program. So almost $280 billion, I think is the latest number, over 10 years. But we spend $400 million a day just on food stamps in this country. So figuring out how to be more efficient and more cost effective, while at the same time shifting some of those dollars over to the farmers and the ranchers, whether it is protecting 2 million of our family farms from the inheritance or the death tax. That's going to be vital to keeping these farms and these ranches in the family. Increasing through tax cuts to our farmers, perhaps the ultimate small business owners, by $10 billion, and increasing reference prices, which have not been increased in over a decade, which is how we manage the ag commodity system, how we move food out into the country and across the world, reflecting current day market in that, since no farm bill was able to be passed in the last Biden administration. Those are just 3 quick things, but those will be huge for our farmers and our ranchers and ensuring that we're able to reverse that trend of family farms going out of business.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the big industrial farms are doing fine, but then you see the family farms who are crucial and critical for the entire food system, its stability and its security. So I absolutely applaud that. What I think has people in America, and the polls do show this, we got a whole bunch of polls that show this thing is not popular. I'm not talking about the farm part specifically. I'm talking about the Fox News poll shows that it's under 40% approval. When you look at the Quinnipiac poll, the Pew Research poll, these are all showing that few people favor this thing. 38% favor on the Fox poll. When it comes to the other ones, you can look at the Quinnipiac poll. That one has 53% opposing it. Only 27% support it. And then the Pew poll, here's the thing. A lot of Americans don't like this, even some people who voted for President Trump, for this reason, Madam Secretary, because they don't understand why the cuts have to come from programs like SNAP, like food stamps for the poor, and like Medicare for the poor. That is the problem. So can you make a connection between why that should be okay?
Well, I think it's really important to note that the entire media apparatus has been against this bill from the beginning. But here's what President Trump was elected to do. And I won't comment on Medicare or Medicaid. That's someone else's lane. But I can comment very specifically to food stamps, that at the end of the day, under Joe Biden, the food stamp program, which is the largest by far of any program at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, grew almost 40% under the insane spending of Joe Biden. So most Americans don't have those facts. They're raising their families, they're going to work, they're doing all the things that are great about this country. So that's why we have worked so hard to get that information out. Again, in the food stamp program and across the nutrition programs at USDA, we spend $400 million a day. So to ensure that the right people are receiving the safety net, the food that they need, we have to be able to be more efficient, more effective, and turn these programs around. Otherwise, they're unsustainable, will move into bankruptcy, and they won't survive. So that, I do believe, is almost an existential threat. And I think this bill absolutely does a tremendous job of approaching all of those major challenges while shifting to cutting taxes, the largest tax cut in history, while shifting to the biggest spending cut in history, while shifting to the biggest deficit reduction in 30 years. These are all things combined with the tariff realignment, combined with the reshoring of almost $10 trillion now. These are all the reasons that America is back. Inflation is down, job growths are up. We're going to see just a tremendous golden age moving forward, but this bill is a really big part of that.
A lot of farmers do have a complaint, and their complaint is that they're having trouble with labor shortages. You know, the president has done exactly what he was voted in to do, and that is secure the border. However, the ICE raids have been targeting a lot of people. First of all, criminals, yes, absolutely out. But the farmers have said they need immigrant workers to help out on the farms. They're having a lot of trouble finding people to actually come work there. You're advocating for some migrants, are you not?
Well, I am advocating for what the president's vision has always been, which is a secure border and a 100% legal workforce. What the president has said, and what I believe most everyone realizes, is that that is a goal that we will get to in this administration, but it's going to take a bit of a transition. We've got to modernize our H-2A Libre visa program. We've got to ensure that we're incentivizing automation where it's necessary. And if you think about it, of all of the, the tens of millions of illegal aliens that crossed in the last 4 years, the number of criminals, most of those live in our big cities. Only about 1% of the illegal population actually works on farms. So again, following the president's lead, ensuring we're effectuating his vision, making sure that we don't have stoppages in our food supply, which is a national security issue, is really paramount.
Some raids in meat plants, in livestock plants and places like that. I mean, there should, at least some people believe, including many of the farmers, there should be at least some type of, backing off when it comes to migrant farm workers. You've testified before Congress about this. So how do you kind of square that?
Well, it's my understanding there have only been a few of those. And from my sort of conversations, those were targeted very clearly at specific criminal activity that may or may not have ended up being true, but that at the end of the day, that's Secretary Noem's job, and I certainly would never question that. But that the president has been very, very clear. He, number one, backs a secure border, a 100% legal workforce. But number two, wants to make sure that our great farmers and ranchers have what they need, A, to be able to feed the country and the world, but B, to be able to do what they need to do. And that's what we're working to effectuate. Just today, Secretary Chavez DeRimmer over at Labor issued a new rule and regulation that will make it easier for our farmers and ranchers to use and utilize the H-2A visa, which is the legal solution to this challenge that we're facing.
Secretary Rollins, I'm watching the clock. I know you have an event to go to right now for the promotion of that bill. So I know you're right there. I'll let you go. Thank you so much for jumping in front of our camera.